Hi, my name is Gina, and Steve asked me to give you a little bit of my story about adoption. When I was growing up, I went to summer camps and then always worked at summer camps. So in April of 2013, I was at a camp conference, which was just for those who were working, and we heard lots of lectures and lots of helpful things. Well, one of those lectures actually changed my life forever. It was a lecture that was titled, What If? What is your what if? So what we were encouraged to do by this pastor was to take an index card, which I still have, and to write down on that index card the desires of our heart that just had not been met yet, had not been fulfilled yet, the things that we really just shared with God that were, very important to us. So for me, I really wanted to be a mom. I was not a mom, and I really wanted to be a mom, so I put be a mom on the front side of that card. He said, now flip that card over and tell me what it would take for you to be a mom. So at age 45, I thought, well, I'm probably not going to have a baby, so let's look at adoption. And then I thought, well, I'm probably not going to be able to do an international adoption because I didn't have the funds, so how could I do a domestic adoption? He said the third thing you need to write down, now since we know what you want and we know what you would have to do to get it, he said, what if you took the steps to make that work? So for me, as he encouraged us to do so, I wrote down the steps of to complete foster to adopt classes for the state of Kentucky. So when I came back from that conference, that April 15, 2013 conference, when I came back, I started the adoption classes, and I took them that summer. And the very last class was the most important class that you could not miss or you did not graduate. So it happened that I was actually working at a summer camp in Connecticut during that last class 13 that I wasn't allowed to miss. So I made arrangements for myself to have a flight down to Kentucky and to be here for 24 hours. I made sure to schedule it in plenty of time so that in case there were any sort of delays, that I would still be there for class 13. So the day I was getting ready to leave from Connecticut, I had a phone call, and during that phone call, they said that my flight had been canceled, and they put me on another flight. Of all the flights that were there, mine was the only one that was canceled. So they bumped me up, and I did the math, and okay, well, I would be 2 hours later arriving, but I would still have plenty of time to make it to my class. And 2 hours later, I got another phone call telling me that they had canceled that flight and they were putting me on an afternoon flight and that I was going to arrive in Lexington sometime after 7 p.m. Well, I knew that arriving after 7 p.m. was going to be too late. There was no way that obviously I could attend that 6 p.m. class. So I came back to Kentucky and decided that I would press forward and find the next available class 13 and attend it so that I could finish that certification. So I did. I came back to Kentucky, and I was able to finish that class by the last week of September, and it is significant that I tell you the dates because at the 1st of October, they came to do the final run through, if you will, of my home to make sure that it was going to be acceptable for children. I got the okay, and as the child care worker was there, she said, well, we've gone over the things which you think would be best for a child that you wanted or thought that you could care for best. So she said to me, don't get discouraged. It might take weeks. It usually does. And, if we call you about a child that you don't think you're able to provide for, then please say no. We will call you again. And but just don't get discouraged for the wait, she said. So I said, all right. So I kind of buckled in, ready for a long wait. And the next day, I get a phone call at 3 o'clock, and they tell me that there is this beautiful baby who needs a place to stay. And I did what they told us to do. They said, hey, when you're adopting, make sure you've got 3 people on your board of directors, your personal board of directors, that aren't related to you and aren't living in your house, that you can call whenever you get that call, and you can say, hey, this is the opportunity to take care of this child. Is this the right one for me? So those folks are going to help you make that decision, and therefore, if it's good or bad, they're not going to say, you can't say to them, oh, this is your fault. They just help you talk through kind of objectively what's going on. So I did that. I made 2 quick phone calls, got 2 of the 3 people, and decided, okay, all right, God, we've prayed about this, and this sounds like the exact perfect child for me. And it was. So 3 hours later, I was a foster mom, and the sweet baby who is now my son was at my door. So as I reflect back, at that point, it was obvious. As I learned more about his situation, I knew he had been born in the summer while I was actually going to classes. I know that the week that I was supposed to be in class 13 was just a few days before he was put in a situation that actually flagged CPS to take care of this little boy. So I knew that God was in this, that he had prepared me for this little boy. But I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. People will say things to you like they'll say, I couldn't do that. I couldn't just love a baby and give it back. It would rip my heart out. But then you realize that the love that you can show a child, no matter how long you have them, is like the love of God. You know, it's like what God does for us when he adopts us, that he takes us out of a terrible situation and he shows us that the time that we have with him is a blessed time, it's a time of peace, and that if you do things his way, you know, if you put a child in a functioning home, they thrive. And if we allow ourselves to be in that functioning home with God, we thrive. So he came to my home, and 18 months later, on April 15th of 2015, he officially became my son. The seed that God had planted in my heart on April 13th, 2013, before he was even born, was fully in bloom by April 15th of 2015. It is the best thing I have ever done in my life. It has been the most rewarding thing as a Christian to be able to feel the love for a child the way that I know that God feels love for us. I'm not always the best parent. You know, I have those doubts. I don't know if I handle everything the way I should handle it. But what I do know is that I was chosen by God to be this little boy's mom. And I know that he was chosen by God to be my son. And I know that just with that assurance, that I can tell God that all the time, that when I don't know how to handle something, that, you know, this is the child you gave me. It's my responsibility to care for him, and that I ask God for that guidance. But I always have that underlying assurance now that this is the child that God had for me. I would encourage all of you to do your own what ifs, that you would make known those desires of your heart, and that if it is to become a better parent, if it's to be, you know, whatever it is that is the desire of your heart, that then you write down those things that have to happen, and that you just trudge through those what ifs, that you complete them. What if you did complete it? What if you did do what it took to make that work, and that God would always bless you. So that's my story.